I'm not sure how to put this as a question, but I'm compelled to wonder if this work or practice is the coping of the trauma, or essentially being human while being of the divine. And steps 1 through 4 seem to be levels of trauma coping, while step 4 is transcending, but can't live the human experience in the state all the time. I'm not sure how to put this as a question, but I'm compelled to wonder if this work or practice is the coping of trauma, of essentially being human. I think that's the same embodiment as when you're able to feel the freeness of perspective when we're witnessing having the human experience and not feel traumatized by it. Carla, the question, it seems to me, has the context of trauma. And I mean, that's really, there's a lot of information with that in terms of the perspective from which the question is being asked. And the challenge is that I don't want to deny the idea that being human is a traumatic experience. What I want to say is that, my mic is falling off. What I want to say is that this process, this experience in consciousness, yes, you could call it a process of integrating and transmuting trauma, but the fundamental condition of being human in separation, we could say, is trauma. But in wholeness, it has nothing to do with trauma. The traumas are there, the wounds are there as a way of illuminating the separate self. It is the pathway through which we encounter our wholeness. If you want to think of it this way, the separate self is just the whole self wrapped up with the wrapping paper of separation. And makes sense, right? We're talking about that as a trauma and so on. All I'm trying to say is that if we have a conversation that is dominantly in the perspective of separation, we can never see outside of separation if that's our context. And so while I think it's important to acknowledge the validity of the experiences of separation, I think it's also very, very important to acknowledge, even if we're just identifying it linguistically as a point maybe at which we're not having an embodied experience of yet, that in truth, what is unfolding is this dynamic, no matter how traumatizing the experience of being human is. I hope I'm beginning to answer or address your question, not question. And thank you for asking it on the chat.